Assalamu alaikum. Shalom and peace. Welcome to another session of our 23rd. Can you all hear me well? Welcome to another session of our 23rd Interfaith Health and Human Services Conference. In this session, we'll explore and examine the notion of the disappearance of local farmers and hopefully debunk that idea and put in and show that we have faith in action by showing how, in fact, there is a resurgence of farming right here in our locale. We have on our panel today Brother Eliyahu Israel, Ras Kofi, and Musa and Nicole Hassan. Brother Eliyahu's farm is called Atlanta Harvest. Ras Kofi is with Shamba. Musa and Nicole are with Bread and Butter Farms. So let's begin by speaking. Well, let's start by telling who I am. I'm Jessica Muhammad. I'm a member of Sisters United and a granddaughter of sharecroppers. I grew up in, I'm hearing just a little bit of static. Okay.
Let me
Oh, good.
Hold on one second.
All right, dear.
Okay, can you say something, Sister Jessica? Okay. What about now?
This is Jessica Muhammad.
Okay, I'm gonna mute the other line.
Well, let me ask you this, Atia. It's actually 2:32 by my phone, and we were scheduled for 2:40. So it's saying that it doesn't open up for 7 minutes.
Okay, I don't know how we're live right now. I know we do have a couple of people in the waiting room. Let's see. If you've joined us live, if you could just bear with us, we will start in the next 7 minutes. Would you mind just giving us a moment just to get our bearing? We're scheduled to start at 2:40. So if you've joined us live, can you give us just a few moments to get situated and set up? And if you've joined us live, if you just don't mind bearing with us while we get ready. Thank you. You're right, Sister Jessica. It is scheduled to start at 2:40. So it looks like a couple of people were led into the room instead of the waiting room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Well,
so I just asked people to bear with us. Okay. Sorry about that. So, okay, Musa and Nicole Hassan, Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Ras Kofi. It seems like everyone is sharing. I'm going to try to get Brother Eliyahu and reach out to him to see if he can go ahead and log in as well. So if you just...
Can you see my webcam, sis?
Yep, we can see you. We can see you in the backyard or by garden.
Yeah. I just want to make sure because I'm not able to see anything. So I'm just be planting while we're talking.
Okay, that sounds good. All right.
That's a farmer for you.
Farmer's work is never done.
That's right. From can't see to can't see, right?
Okay.
Oh no! Look, y'all, and my phone is trying to go out. Good Lord! I'm gonna have to move locations. Hey, Rob, can you see me?
I can't see anyone, Mama.
Oh, that's right.
I can't see.
Hey, I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Let's see.
Okay, Sister Jessica.
Yes, dear.
Okay, it looks like I'm having a problem with catching. I'm not able to get in contact with Brother Eliyahu. So even though we
Okay.
have him advertised on the flyer, I don't know if we will reference him. So it'll just be Ross Kofi and Brother Musa and Sister McCole.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
Okay. And we'll start in the next 4 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Are there any, Brother Musa and Sister McCole, are there any resources that you'd like to share, or any documents that you'd like for us to slide? Was there anything that you wanted to share?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I don't think we had anything that we wanted to share at this point. Nothing that's prepared, rather.
Okay, that's totally fine. And were you able to receive the questions that we sent out as well?
Y'all have some questions?
Yes, we got them.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, all right. So we're going live in the next 4 minutes, and so people will be able to hear and see you in just a few minutes. And so Ross Kofi is actually putting some action behind what we're talking about today by farming at the same time. So alhamdulillah. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started out. I'm going to put myself on mute.
Okay, Atia, Atia?
Yes, ma'am.
Before you leave, hold on a minute. No, I was still trying. Yeah, before you leave, you can see me?
Yes, I can see you fine.
Oh, okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that I changed locations there. I was outside earlier. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so we are going to get started in just a moment or so. So if there is anyone who's sort of waiting, we'll start promptly at 2:40. Thank you for joining us.
So Musa and Nicole?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be asking you to introduce yourselves, all right? And particularly, I'm interested in Nicole taking up just a little bit of the time too to speak as a woman and a female farmer.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that okay, Nicole?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay.
Sister Jessica, are you connected in two ways? It looks like I have two connections for you. It looks
You're
like
getting.
It's a little feedback.
Yes, I'm hearing scratching too. So now, if I turn off at the very top, if I turn off the phone, let's see what happens there. If I mute my phone, right?
Yes, you're going through your computer or you're going through your phone. But yeah, so you can't hear you. Okay, so let's see.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so it looks like it's 2:40, Sister Jessica. So it looks like it's just two instances of you, and I'm thinking that maybe one of those instances Are you calling using your computer? And if not, it's okay. We'll just mute our line. So just all right. Well, assalamu alaikum, everyone. All right, and Sister Jessica. All right, Sister Jessica. Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. All right. So, thank you so much for joining us. But we have our moderators experiencing some technical difficulties. And so in the meantime, what we're going to do is allow her to hopefully her get her webcam and her audio working. And so without further ado, we're going to start. The conversation today is the disappearance of the local farm. We have some special treats for you today. Ras Kofi and Brother Musa and Makol Hassan, and they will be sharing with you a little bit about not just about the disappearance of the local farm, but also the resurgence of the Black farmer. And so, and we're still waiting for our moderator. The conversation will be moderated by Sister Jessica Muhammad. But in the meantime, we'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves, beginning with Brother Ras Kofi. Brother Ras Kofi, could you give us just a brief introduction of who you are and your work?
Oh, assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Hello.
Son of Ko in the UC, Guyana, and I mention them not only because they're my parents, naturally, but they really instilled in me from both agriculture. So I remember at a young age, which was equivalent. We left Guyana, my country, when I was the equivalent of fourth grade at that time because my parents were, deemed enemies of the state and we had to leave for political exile. But by that time, I already had the habit of having to take the cows out to the pasture in the morning before going to school and helping to milk the cows and doing things around the house, composting and all those things before I ever knew it was a concept and much less a very popular term. So those are really, and when we came to America, we didn't focus too much on farming at all, really. I was in school, and I was just focusing on what young men focus on during school. But what kicked in for me was when I started a family, and my first daughter was born right there in the west end of Atlanta. We started a family, and it was just natural to almost immediately begin to grow a garden again. That was 5 years ago. I remember we had a family discussion because people wanted a nice little lawn. We had a corner lot right by the West End Masjid in the West End Park of Atlanta. And my whole argument was like, we can't eat grass, So we came to a compromise, and half of the lot was made into a garden, and the other half was kept as a lawn. So from there, it just developed about, I would say about 2007. I was living in Philadelphia at the time. In 2008, I met Baba Rashid Nuri, who's the founder of Truly Living Well. And shortly after returning to Atlanta, started working with him first as a garden educator, but then also as the farm manager. So that was the shift of the amount of property that I was really responsible for. I have many teachers that I trained on large farms and all that kind of stuff, but being responsible for it gives you another type of mindset, which goes into just, I think, a natural station we have as humanity. So that's the long and short of it right now. For the past year, my partner and I have run a farm called Shamba Farm, which is located in West East Point. We also, company on the farm does a lot of consultations and establish gardens and establish food systems all over the country and different parts of the Caribbean as well. So in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. I'm actually in the backyard right now of a client in the northern part of Atlanta, just doing some fall maintenance.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Roscoe, that introduction. I'm next going to I'd like for Brother Musa and Sister Nicole Hassan of Bread and Butter Farms to share a little bit about who they are and their background in agriculture and farming.
Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My background with agriculture began with just seeing it growing up, seeing my mother, my aunts, my uncles, everybody growing, and then hearing stories. My grandfather owned about 100 acres in Alabama, and he farmed everything from corn for their corn mill, cotton. He had animals, you name it. So they were pretty much self-sufficient. They had the true farm house and farm upbringing. And my mother used to tell me this stuff, and I was always like intrigued. And I told her when I grew up, I want to be a farmer. And she laughed at me. She was like, "Oh God, like I can't understand why you want to do that." But for me, I was always attached and attracted to that lifestyle of self-sufficiency, to be able to produce and sustain yourself without having to go out to another source. So of course, once we had kids, and even before having kids, when we met, I had like garden on the porch and totes. Like I would grow whatever I could grow. And I'm still like that today. Like wherever growing space I have, if I don't have it, I'll create it. We'll create it. Like it's just something, a passion that's always been in me since childhood. So after going to school for biology and going that whole route of research and getting into that pharmaceutical world and seeing that everything comes back to food and what you put into your body. So if that's already in me, it's already a passion of mine, why not follow it? So for the past few years, that's what we've been pursuing full time pretty much.
I was raised on a farm out in Monroe, Georgia. So it's one of those things I've always understood. I didn't like it growing up because it was so much work. But after my undergrad and grad degree and doing tons of research, we realized the importance of growing your own food. Not only is it healthy for the body, I mean, it's also healthy for the spirit and soul and helpful when it comes to the kids understanding where their food comes from. So it makes you more appreciative of the creator when you're in that environment. The other thing is seeing individuals that don't have access to that food and how, food insecurities have shaped their health and the health disparities in our communities at this point in time. So we are always looking to bridge that gap by providing food for our communities in any way we can.
Very good. Well, this is Sister Jessica. I'm back on now. Can you all hear me well?
Yes.
Yep.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your background. I just wanted to back up just a little bit and talk about the topic of this session, which is the disappearance of local farms. And I'm hoping that we can even debunk that notion. You have put your faith in action by stepping out there. I think farming is one of the greatest examples of being faithful. So tell us a little bit about how you got started with your farms and why you're farming.
Sure.
Let's start with you, Roscoe.
Yes. Okay.
Roscoe? Okay, well, looks like I'm having some audio issues again. How about you, Musa and Nicole?
Ross Kofi can hear. Ross Kofi, I think he's unmuting his mic.
Yeah, I can. My mic is not muted.
Okay,
At least not
well,
on
while
my
we're
end.
working with that, Musa and Nicole, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the question is, how are we going to debunk this notion that local farms are disappearing? Tell me about your farm and how and why you took on this big faithful act.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll go first. Working for the Farm Service Agency, I was tasked with going around to different farms and basically getting them in a position to apply for loans. That means getting their business credit together, getting the business plan together, so on and so forth. One of the things, though, I did talk to them about, which is probably one of the reasons why I got fired, was because basically um, you want to try to keep your land in the best possible way. And the reason why we went down that route is because a lot of Black farms in the past have disappeared. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. So a lot of land in the South was either sold or taken on some type of level. Either the family didn't have a will, or they didn't want to deal with the land, or the land was heir property, or anything like that, and it got caught up in probate. As of lately, though, people are becoming more aware of how important it is to grow your own food. People are becoming aware of their health and what they put in their bodies. And there is a incline in when it comes to farms, especially urban farms in the Metro Atlanta city right now. So right now we're talking about 62 and up farms, urban farms in the Metro Atlanta area. If you compare that to several years ago, I mean, that's a really nice increase. In the early 60s, 70s, everybody had a garden. All right, this is just the way it was. I mean, everybody had a small garden in their home, on their land, or something along those lines. So we are very interested in our kids growing up in that environment. We feel like that farming creates a work ethic that is, I mean, it just creates a really good, I guess, standard of how you should take care of your day-to-day actions. Two, it makes you dependable on the creator as opposed to your own self. So we wanted that to instill that in our kids, as well as learn those things for ourselves.
It is one of those things. I think Black people are starting to understand the power in land, the power in owning land, the power in taking care of your land and being the steward over your land. It is not a it's we're starting to break that stigma of sharecropping and slavery, because for like my family there was a generational gap. So my mother, uncle, and aunt, they left the farm and they didn't want to do it. They hated it like Musa did. It was just like, oh, I hate this. I don't want to do this work. But I think it's a lack of communication. We're not explaining to our kids the business of it. Like, we're running a business. When we talk to our kids, that's how we talk to them. We're letting them know this is where your money comes from. This is how we go on vacations. This is how we go on trips. It's because of the labor that we put in. We know that you guys didn't want to go out here and weed these beds. We know that you may, not like planting or whatever it is, but we try to encourage them to hone in on what's important to them. Like, we have a daughter that's like extremely outgoing. She's extremely like, oh, hello, everybody. I love everybody. She's our PR person. She's our person that we put out front at the market, and she's going to say hi to everybody. She's going to be that face that people see, and it puts her in a role that she's comfortable with. So when she grows up, if she decides that, okay, I can do agriculture, she can go that marketing track. But it's about reshaping that thought process, and it's not just back-breaking work. It is teaching our kids how to run an enterprise, how to run a business, and how to be self-sufficient again.
Yes.
Got it. That's beautiful, and I'm certain that it didn't start with You having, how many acres do you have now, Musa?
We have 10 total.
Right, 10 acres, and you woke up one morning and said, "Hey kids, we got 10 acres of land." Did it start with something very small, and did it grow?
Yeah, it did. We started growing in our apartment.
In Home Depot buckets.
In Home Depot buckets, right? We were both working for Emory, and we wanted to grow some things on our in our apartment. So we grew everything, enough food for the year in our closets. And by enough food, I mean just greens, sprouts, anything that didn't need any type of pollination. So we grew all of that in our closet and on our deck. And then from there, we were like, oh man, we need more space.
Yeah.
So we ended up moving to a place that had maybe a quarter of an acre, and we grew a lot of stuff there. From there,
We needed more space.
we needed more space. So everything was just I guess, a stepping stone to the next thing. And then we finally got to the point where, we was like, okay, well, we want to be in that environment. We want to live off grid. We want to be in that space. This is where we want to go. This is how we want to live. That our kids been with us along the whole way.
Yeah.
Grabbing things out of the garden, understanding what it's for. We put a lot of time and effort, or she does, when it comes to the educational, the educational aspect of plants and their medicinal uses and things like that. So, since they've been born, they've been exposed to, plantain leaf for cuts and coagulating the blood a little bit, right? And then everything else from that point on, different teas for different types of issues. One of my daughters have asthma, so she understands that she can grab a certain bark and steep it and so on and so forth. So we just got to that point where we were like, okay, we're going to live off grid. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to grow. This is how we're going to live. And inshallah, it's going to be good.
Perfect. Russ Kofi, can you hear us now? Are we able to hear you?
Yes, Russ Kofi is here, and also we are joined by Brother Eli Yahoo.
Oh.
Yes, so Brother Eli is on as well.
Wonderful. Well, Brother Elihu, Eliahu, is that how we pronounce your name? Brother Eli?
Can you hear us?
Eliyahu. Brother Eliyahu.
Yes, Eliyahu.
Oh, very good. We hear your voice. Good to have you with us. We'd like to hear just a little bit about who you are. You want to share with us?
I think he just lost connection. Brother Eli,
Oh.
Brother Eliyahu, can you hear us? Okay, I think Ross Kofi can hear us and can respond, Sister Jessica.
Okay. Well, I think what I'm trying to get to right now is bring this home, and this is just a conversation between us. We want to talk about who the farmers are now. I consider myself a farmer. I'm not on the level with Ross Kofi nor Nicole or Musa, but I've got kale growing in my yard and persimmon trees and a few other things. And these foods are important to me for many reasons. Not so much economically, because I end up spending quite a bit of money on trying to get my soil prepared for the growth. But we want our listeners and participants to realize that they too can be farmers and are farmers if they are growing. So, Rob, let's talk about that a little bit, because you have an operation that also supplies seedlings and helps with the installation of farms on personal properties such as mine, which you have supplied me with seedlings. So, tell us a little bit about that and how each and every one of us can be a farmer.
Yeah, I mean, you've just opened a whole book right there. It's, first of all, that's our nature. It's one of the first tasks that we were given, our ancestors were given, in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
And So I start even my interaction with people who come by the farm looking for stuff and wanting to ask questions. And we have a gathering every Saturday, which you've attended, that kind of facilitates that in a safe way, you know, in the midst of a pandemic. But I start with that because it's like it's different when you approach the earth, when you approach life, knowing that something is your nature versus attempting to feel like it's rocket science, you know. And I also say that because in the context of the pandemic, that has been clearly illustrated. This is something that no man could have done in terms of what the domino effects, the social, the global, emotional, even I would say, you know, mental, political domino effects of being just forced to be still. It's the environment tremendously, and it's also impacted our minds. So at our business, I remember we had a soft grand opening March the 7th, and the next week a global pandemic was declared. And it's been nonstop. Non Ain't been no quarantine and chill. I mean, that's never going to be the case for a farmer anyway. But it's, you know, that whole thing of quarantine and chill, and you know, it's been escalated tremendously, and that to me is the most clear proof right there in terms of the resurgence of farming. But I like to tie it into the fact that it's being brought about in a sustainable way by the movements of our Creator, and it's happening based on people seeing the necessity now, even if for some it's rooted in kind of a reaction, like, boy, look what the government doing, and look what white folks are doing. We got to do for ourselves. That's one way to be motivated, and if that's what motivates us, it's all good. Alhamdulillah. It just, I feel
That's
like
right.
I feel it's from a deeper place even than that, you know, which is wonderful. A proactive
Right.
grow when you're being defensive, you know, and
That's right.
hard to be defensive if we're under attack. However, now people are embracing it from a level of doing it for the love instead of for the fear or for the. So I think that's something that is very important, and it should be noted in terms of who, like you said, who is farming. So going from there, it's already been established. We're all farmers. So this is all something, as Brother Musa said earlier, a couple of decades ago, everybody had a farm. Most of us in this generation are only 2 generations, if that much, really mostly more than 1 generation removed from the farm, from that rural life, even if it's not on a farm. In my country, Guyana, the way the villages were set up after emancipation, the Africans, first of all, pooled their resources and purchased these parcels of thousands of acres of land, which we call home. You know, and they did that against all odds. They did that when the government of the time, the colonial government, tried to put a loophole to say, well, there can be no individual purchase of land. Well, alhamdulillah, they just pushed us right back to being collective, which is who we are anyway. And so we have all this. But the point is that the village is set up. Northern section are where the house lots are, and then in the backlands, every family is allotted a parcel to do their farming. You know, it's just natural. I mean, go across the globe to Geneva, Switzerland, and these places. It's Geneva is one of those examples of an urban environment where they have what you call collective agriculture. And this has been long before the pandemic, where everybody's growing food, but everybody's not attempting to be Farmer John as Farmer George, so to speak, and just growing everything. So therefore, if Jessica's yard yields better tomatoes and great carrots because it might be very sandy, and Musa's yard yields great blueberries, and my yard yields great sweet potatoes, we do what we specialize in, and everybody shares and eats. So that therefore, then farming clearly goes into another, it feeds another, nurtures another quality, which is community. And it goes on and on. I don't wind it, but that's how I would answer your question just to start.
Well, that's a beautiful, beautiful start, Musa. And Ross, And Musa Nicole, with starting out in your apartment, that gives me even greater hope. And those who are listening about, and really more confidence even in referring to myself as a farmer. And I'm hoping that our listeners are putting in the chat maybe some shout outs for themselves. If you're farming, let us know via the chat how what you're growing, and we'll move on to another area here regarding food justice and why it is important in our community. So, Musa and Nicole, have you always found it uh, easy to access food?
Outside of what my family grew, if it was winter, if we were not growing, if we didn't um, can and preserve, no, it was not easy. We had to drive a good distance to a predominantly white area to get quality produce. The only good
Mm-hmm.
thing about growing up in Detroit is that it was a lot of immigrants. So we had access to meat markets and fruit markets. It was like everything, but we had to drive. You had to have transportation to access those things, and it wasn't nearby. So that was a whole weekend for my mother, my sister, and I. So we would go to a certain area and go to the bakeries and get the stuff we needed from there. We would go to the meat markets and get the stuff we needed from there, and then go to the fruit market, and then we had to buy in bulk. But there was no quick, easy access in our community at all, except for there was one fruit truck guy, Charlie's Fruit Truck. He just passed away too. He used to come and do deliveries to our neighborhood, and he was also a reason that he kind of fueled my love for giving people that access to food. So although he wasn't African, it didn't matter. Like the fact what he was doing in that model was like really cool to me. I thought it was really cool that somebody was getting food to our community by any means necessary, pretty much. And we try to mirror that in some way, in our own way. We try to get food to people the best way we can. And sometimes it is an inconvenience, but because of that food justice and because we know that not everybody has access, it's a passion for us.
Wonderful. So would you say that your CSA program addresses food justice in a sense, or when you're talking about getting food to people?
Yeah, I think it does in some light. I mean, there's a lot of farmers in the Metro Atlanta area and beyond that who deliver veggies to families, especially families that don't have access or those areas that don't have, they're within 2 or 3 miles of a grocery store or something along those lines. Um, Bridging that gap by delivering is huge because you bring the farm to the doorstep. So that's just one of those models that we wanted to kind of keep going no matter what. We're looking for, I guess, grants on some level when it comes to providing a really good system in which we can consistently throughout the whole year make those deliveries every week, because it really does create and bridge that gap. That's not necessarily, I guess, if you don't have a grocery store, it's not there.
Yeah.
So,
Because
yeah.
once you get outside of the perimeter, like we are outside the perimeter, when you get out there, it's not too much outside of Walmart, Publix, Kroger, kind of kind of thing. It's not farm fresh grown produce. And again, like one of our customers, her daughter bought plants from us and she started her garden this year. She was only like 8, I
Yeah.
think. And that was like so cool. Like I did a Zoom call with her to consult to see how everything was going, to give her some feedback on what she can do to increase her yields. And it was just good to see that just her mother joining the CSA. They came out to the farm, seeing the space, it sparked something in her. And so that's what we want to do. We want to get that next generation involved and excited about it.
So I had access to food because I was on the farm. So, you don't get the size by not having access to food. So, but yeah, once we left the farm, we moved to the city. At that point in time, that was my first time having real canned food, right? And I think I drunk some. I can't even remember what it was. It was like a juice or something like that. And I've never had that kind before, and I spit it out because I thought it was poison.
Sunny delight.
Yeah. I thought it was poison when I tasted it. I was like, man, what is this? So, because, growing up on the farm, I know it sounds weird, but, my pops, he wouldn't eat anything that didn't have a bone in it. So we didn't get processed meats or seeds. Yeah, we didn't have processed meats. We didn't have canned stuff or anything like that. We went out to the hog pen, killed a hog, killed a goat, killed a cow, and then that's how we would move. After
Right.
that,
Well, I just wanted to jump in there for a minute for those old schools who are listening. Brother Musa's father is it MC? Is that what we call your dad?
Right.
Yes, Brother MP. He's always been around as a farmer in back when we were calling ourselves the nation, and even now he is a farming man.
Yeah. So after I left the farm, that was the first time I felt like somebody was poisoning me. Of course, the only reason why we had that type of food is because we didn't have access to the farm anymore, right? We moved away from that, and now we're in the city, and the grocery store is right down the street, or it's a mile away, 2 miles away. But when I say trash, what I mean is they have food that has aged. I've worked for Monsanto. My undergrad is animal science, so I've seen the trajectory from the seed to the plant to how it's packaged and how long it takes to get from one place to the next, how many hands touches it, so on and so forth. So, that green tomato it's been green for weeks. So it's going to change that taste. And that's what we were exposed to, and I hated it. That's just how it was. I was like, I don't know what this is.
Well, Jessica, it looks like we have a couple of questions, and I know Brother Eli Yahoo has been having some technical issues. Brother Eli, are you able to hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. As soon as I cut off the audio, the video, audio is working perfectly.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Well, welcome, Brother Eliyahu. We would love to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Atlanta Harvest.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys for inviting me and allowing me to speak on this platform. Much respect to you all who have organized this and have given us some room to speak and are trying to educate the people. Very, very grateful for your work. So for everybody who doesn't know me, my name is Eliyahu Yisrael. I'm the son of Asa Yisrael, who is the first generation master farmer of our family. I have followed in his footsteps and manage and run our farm location in Jonesboro, or now Ellenwood, as we've moved the farm from Jonesboro to Ellenwood this week. And we come from a kind of, I guess, a long line of farmers, a bit displaced, but coming back and finding our way. We're from New York originally. Back when I was quite young, we decided to move out of the city, and my father felt like he had a certain calling back to the land and decided to buy some land out here in Georgia, in our original location in Dublin, which is about 2.5 hours outside of the city, and get 40 acres, some pasture land, some farmland, some trees, and farming from scratch. And what we do now, years later, have multiple locations. We grow organic, non-GMO, chemical fruits and vegetables. We also produce our own meats. We have our own tea and coffee company. We mix our own herbs. And we present to the people of Middle Georgia with accessibility to farm fresh, locally grown produce, meats, teas, etc. A lot of our business comes from direct marketing, dealing with customers on the front end, having a farm stand at the new location in Ellenwood, doing farmers markets, dealing with chefs and things like that. And so we've been very, very blessed to partake in a field where there is a lot of love and support, and for growth. Take education field extremely serious, and through education, we started a nonprofit called Cultivating Humanity, in which we educate people, educate children about, farm fresh, eating good, being able to know how to cook, life skills, really, how to plant, how to even change a tire, just kind of people need to know we've come from, because city playing and living in a place with so many conveniences has kept us hungry for knowledge. And so we decided to open that nonprofit in order to satisfy some of those needs and to uplift our people. Outside of that, we're just really a family farm, just trying to do our best to make an imprint on the society that we live in, and trying to help people be more self-sufficient, sustainable, to be more educated, to be able to remove themselves in certain ways from the society as we know it, and to be able to reclaim our lands, our knowledge, our heritage, our culture, and getting back into the soil. So that's what we do here at Local Lands and Atlanta Harvest, and that's what we represent. That's just us down to the bone.
I mean, and we're looking forward to your expansion here in Ellenwood, Brother Eliyahu. How soon do you think you'll have some food popping up in that ground there, the new ground that you have? And how many acres do you have there?
So here in Ellenwood, we're probably going to start breaking ground in a couple weeks, and planting things in a couple weeks, where we've got so much stuff growing down in Georgia. And that's where a lot of it comes from, that we down there comes up to Atlanta and gets distributed in the farm stand and in the farmers markets, at the restaurants, etc. So we've got plenty of food planted up here. We've got probably about 10 acres in Ellenwood, and down south is about 40 acres. And so, a decent amount of land. We probably about 15 to 20 acres.
Wonderful. Well, we look forward to patronizing you and supporting us with that good food. George Washington Carver was known as a farmer, and he often spoke of how he spoke to plants and listened to plants. So we're going to take a few questions and then get back to the spiritual aspect of farming, or more about the spiritual aspects of farming. So, Sister Tia, do you have those questions for us, for our panelists?
I do. And just so that our audience knows, I have shared the links to Bread and Butter Farms and Atlanta Harvest, and I'll get Ross Kofi's farm up there as well, so that you can. The beautiful thing is that we have farms all within our radius, and so that we can provide support to these beautiful people. So one of the first questions is, what are the major issues, and this is from Sister Lisa, major issues facing farmers, and do you think that we'll ever see the resurgence of the Vegetable Man food trucks reappear in our community, as McCole spoke about when she was younger in Detroit? So whoever wants to take that question, whether it be Brother Musa McCole, Sister McCole, or Brother Eliyahu.
Yes, I do. I think we're going to see it. I think, as Ross pointed out earlier, the trajectory is pretty obvious, right? And it's obvious because when things happen like this pandemic, all it does is remind people of what they are they don't have access to and what they need. And once people start to realize, like, oh, I don't have access to food the way I thought I did, or, you know, we're realizing that kids think that food comes from Walmart as opposed to the ground. So I think it's becoming, I mean, it's a little bit more than just a fad. I think people are really and truly, honestly wanting to get back to the land. They want to be a part of the land, want to know where their food comes from. People want to be healthy. They understand that good health comes from the soil. So I think that's just the reality of it.
Very good. And did you say something about your wagon that's going to be going up and down the street, Brother Musa, saying vegetables here.
Yeah. So we've been delivering for a while. 3 years now, I guess. We've been doing home deliveries for CSA and just weekly buy-ins, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. I think it's a huge benefit, especially for our customers that, one, don't drive, two, are elderly or handicapped. Having that food for them and being able to bring them is a service that I think is a beautiful thing to even be in this space.
So even if we did do a food truck, because you know we love actually cooking and prepared foods, I personally would still want vegetables on my food truck. I would still want to offer produce somehow, some way to people with that. So I've always wanted some type of produce truck. I've always wanted something that I could bring to people and we can bring to people. So we may have something on the horizon. I've been playing around with the idea of a nonprofit for quite some time. So never know. Inshallah, we'll see.
Well, I think that's a niche for somebody, some listener out there, to go ahead and get it going. There's enough room for all of us. So let's. Are there any more questions, Atia, in the chat? Sister Atia?
Yes, so it looks like someone did ask, and this one is directed to Brother Eliyahu. Where exactly is the farm in Ellenwood located?
So we're located off of 675, off exit 7, off 675. Ellenwood, that's Anvil Block Road. We're maybe about a couple miles down from 675. And you know, the address should be on our website, and we have it open for pickup locations for people who want to sign up for our CSA program. But we're right there. We got this decent amount of space in the front. We got a little vineyard in the front as well that people can see when they drive by.
Perfect. Thank you. And a couple of us do live down south, so that's awesome. There is a question from Sister Khadija Muhammad. And she wants to know, do any of the farmers have access to rare milk straight from the cow, or know where you can purchase rare milk?
Mm-hmm. That's raw milk, right? Raw milk.
Raw milk. Okay, okay. Yes, so it's raw milk.
Where is she located?
Sister Khadija Muhammad, could you share in the chat where you're located?
So the reason why I ask that is because, you know, you wanna shop with your local producer, really. There's not a lot of places in Atlanta that are producing or selling raw milk that I know of. But more so when you live down south, when you're out down south, for instance, we do a market in Warner Robins, and there's a vendor out there that raw milk. Now, people are gonna say, oh, the raw milk is really for pets, it's not for human consumption. That's what they'll have to tag it as. But you're still welcome to purchase it with them. I don't know of any big or local producers in Atlanta that have raw milk. So looking further south, I don't know if there's kind of information, but they have pretty much everything else. There's a website called Local Harvest. I think it's localharvest.org. Now, Local Harvest is a resource for you to find produce producers bio producers, all types of, handmade, homemade type goods, and things. And their information on local harvest, and you can type, I'm looking for raw milk, and then who's around, right?
Yes, and I've seen signs, I think, further north as you go up towards the mountains here in Georgia. I know that you can find it in North Carolina. That's too far to go. But the Amish people may be able to help us out with that raw milk.
All right, so I think that there are a couple of questions about the farms that I think someone does ask, Tazar, and maybe we'll take one more question. How can we support your farms? And this is to all the farmers. How can we buy food and seedlings?
What was the last part?
Food and
Whoever
seedlings.
wants to take it. I think that's
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I wanted to say also, I didn't know my mic was muted, that there's a farm in McDonough called Swanson Family Farms that definitely sells raw milk. That's closer to Atlanta.
Oh, good.
You can just look up Swanson Family Farms.
So now the question is, how can we support our local farms? And I think it was the question on how can we attain some of the seedlings?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Support is very important. Farmers need your support like you support Walmart and Kroger and Publix. We need it even more because we are actually feeding money into our communities. We're sending our kids to, I know for us, we were sending our kids to private Islamic schools. So that money was circling right back through. It's huge for us. That's one of the main things that we struggle with is trying to build that support system and that awareness that we're out here and getting people to consistently support, sharing our page, telling people about us. We also we quickly recommend farmers wherever we know. So wherever you are, just having that conversation and building that relationship is huge. And making that a habit. So it's not just about financing. Like we have a wealth of knowledge. I mean, alhamdulillah, we doing this. We're there. And if you need anything, if you want to grow your own garden, it's not like we just want you to buy from us. We are quickly more than happy to, talk your ear off about how you should grow and what's the best growing practices and do all of those things. So just building that relationship and strengthening that community aspect. It's different. And once you find that, it makes a difference. You start to connect with your food better, and it's just building bridges. So that's the best thing I can say is just support by visiting, volunteering. It doesn't have to be always a financial like, oh, okay, you're buying from me, but just that support. We're building that relationship.
Very good. Well, Kobe?
Ditto.
Do you have seedlings out there to sell?
Support by storing up. Absolutely. We have seedlings for people can purchase. And as we were mentioning earlier, it's just been a groundswell of interest and activity from regular everyday people. And you mentioned earlier about food justice and everything. I just wanted to mention that one of the things that really is an elephant in the room that is still not really being addressed is the economic disparities that really cause what we see as food injustice. It's not just kind of willy-nilly. And I'm also mentioned that, right now, even I'm in the backyard of a music producer, a very popular music producer who as evidence of the trend and everything. If people are just getting back to the land. Everyone wants to have a garden in their backyard. Everyone wants to grow their own food. Everyone wants to know where their food is coming from for many different reasons. But it's also important to remember that there is still very systematically a redlining, as Carol Washington put it, or food apartheid instead of a food desert that's happening. That really has to be, as the sister just said, has to be aggressively balanced out. Aggressively balancing. Sorry, I'm getting tongue tied. Balancing the playing field. This means supporting those who are doing the work, because that's what happens. The law of physics say two things can't exist at one space at one time. So volunteering. I know farmers love volunteer. I think I can speak for every farmer. Maybe not in the same way, but we definitely don't want somebody coming and asking a billion questions and keeping our time off the farm, to answer a question on the telephone. It would be much more enjoyable and probably much more beneficial for one to, if they can, to come out to the farm and get their hands in the soil and not just hear the wisdom or hear the tips, but also feel it in your hands. One of the things that our Creator has given us with this inheritance of agriculture as a culture is the fact that there's so many antidepressant microbes that are found in the soil. So as it's often, it's like it's free therapy and you get tomatoes. So it's really it's a multifaceted blessing to be able to be with our mother in the form of cultivating soil. So I would say the best way to support is to show up.
Agreed. I think that's so beautiful. And Ron Courtney, a little earlier, you referred to the garden as being our place of origin. And I agree with you. And it only makes sense that we would find our peace and find our wholeness back in the soil. I also wanted to, at this point, mention that there is a movement underway to have local government support local farming as well. And when we mention farming, we're talking about the backyard as well. And so you get with your legislators and ask them to support urban farming, support us having seeds and spaces, getting rid of grass in our yards and putting food there. Support us by having some measures, whether it's a tax relief or supplementing us with seeds and fertilizer. And I'm not talking about, the junk fertilizer. I should say compost, so that we can grow our own food. We're closing in now on the end of this session. And if we could take a couple of minutes with each of the panelists to just wrap up and let us know what you would like to leave us with.
Everybody can grow. Everybody can grow. It's not, you shouldn't be intimidated by it. It is something that's in you. It's something that it shouldn't be stressful. Do it. And my philosophy is always grow anything by any means necessary. Like no matter what, if it's a pot, if it is, a small 4x8 bed or whatever it is, just start somewhere and perfect something and grow something.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also on the issue of support, I know I hate to go back really quick, but I think at the very base when it comes to support, I think genuine supplication and positive energy when it comes to farmers or your farmers or the farmers I think that's huge because farming is sometimes looked at as people have a stigma when it comes to it, and because of the trauma that has come along with farming. So what we want to leave people with is just go plant, go grow. Once you get bitten by that grow bug, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And it's something that is going to benefit you years down the line and even after your death. So I say plant as much as you can, plant for your family and yourself. You're only going to be healthier, as Ross just said.
True, true. Eliyahu or Ross?
Yes, can I be heard?
Yes, we hear you now.
Okay, excellent. All right. I think what everybody said is spot on. I just want to make a few notes for some of the earlier questions. Now, in terms of support, there's a terrible echo on my end. I'm sorry. In terms of support, I think that coming in and helping the farmers, working on the farm, volunteering your time, an excellent way to support. And also, signing up for the programs that are available at your local producer, your local farm, specifically here at Atlanta Harvest. I think I mentioned before, we have a CSA food box program for those who are maybe not ready to grow yet or don't have the time yet or still learning. They're more than welcome to sign up for a food box program with all the food that we grow and some food from other local producers. We put together in a food box that's totally 100% customizable. You can make your selections online and have the food delivered directly to your home. Now, we service areas of Atlanta all the way Locust Grove, Union City, East Point, College Park. We go all the way to Lithonia, Conyers, Covington. We go all the way up to Gwinnett, Cobb County, all in throughout Decatur, Avondale Estates. And so we're all over the city, just trying to make it as accessible as possible. We grow a lot of good food and know that there are some good families that need good food. And so if you are one of those and you're looking for a source that you can trust, you can sign up for our food box program. It's a weekly or biweekly subscription to a food box. Outside of that, you can also support by coming to our classes. We do hold classes teaching individuals, spending one-on-one time and spending time in groups, teaching people how to grow, teaching people how to, if you want to learn how to garden, that's great, but you can also learn how to farm, industrial farming, building greenhouses, taking care of animals, using machinery. Advanced classes like that we also provide. And it's very important. I'm so glad that you asked that question about seedlings, because I think to one of the earlier questions about, what are one of the stopping points, or what are one of the things that kind of hold us back, I think is we have problems with inheritance. A lot of us don't know who we are. A lot of us don't know where we come from. And to that point, we lose focus on our roots. And I think it's very important that we have to find those and we understand what our people used to do, where we're actually from, what's in our blood to get back to. And so inheritance is a big thing for us. Inheritance is a huge thing for us. And we like to talk about that, especially when people are coming to buy seedlings and people are coming to buy trees, because you plant a tree, you can feed your future generations. And that's something
right.
about inheritance that people don't really have sight of. It's planting a seed, building a garden is way bigger than, or can be way bigger than, just your backyard.
I agree. Well, Brother Eliyahu,
yes, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say we have only 1 minute, and we want to give Ross Kofi 30 seconds of that, please.
No, please go ahead.
All is well. Basically what my brother said, Shamba is cultivating ground, and it's a Kiswahili word which means cultivating ground. We cultivate soil and soul, so we have very much the same things going on. Over the winter, by the Creator's will, we'll be having what's called the Cool Season Level Up Academy. And that's helping people to focus on two aspects of gardening, which have been mentioned here today. The first, just gardening in life, gardening as a real metaphor for life. So really looking at our mindset, developing a community mindset, changing, switching the narrative and changing the paradigm of this thing that farming is for poor folks and everything. Because as was just mentioned, that was something that was imported on us through the trauma that some of our ancestors experienced. And then we also have a lot of classes just dealing with the tangible skills, growing in the cold of the winter, building hoop house structures, building rocket stoves, and learning how to can and pickle and preserve food and create tonics and all that kind of stuff. So our
All right.
website is on shamba.atl on Instagram, and you can just check us out on, just type in the Shamba on any search engine, it'll come up.
Well, we thank you all. This has been wonderful. May God bless you all as we move forward and feed our own selves, our own community. With that said, peace be unto you all. Assalamu alaikum.